whatever. For him to step back and say, hey, listen, I don't care. I'm paying somebody to do this.
Right.
So you can sleep at night?
Well, sure.
Good for you.
That's true. That's true. I had one kind of not personal horror story, but like I ended up fixing it where there was a busted pipe and water spraying everywhere, and the bathroom was flooding and water's everywhere, and so shut things down. Was getting ready to have to do some really like minute fixes in very tight spaces. I'm like, and this was all on a very old CPVC, and it was cracked, and like this is going to be really difficult, especially because of the one fitting that was there. And that's when I learned that the fitting that I needed to cut out, I didn't have to cut out because it was never glued together.
Nice.
It just came right off, and it was made my life a whole lot easier. But that's the type of DIY horror story that you do run into, and you wonder actually how that ever stayed together at all when it was never glued together. Anyway, so there is a reason for that. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Homeology podcast, a weekly conversation with your HVAC team here at Vertex Mechanical. We're glad you've taken a few moments as part of your day to laugh with us, maybe learn something new, and be inspired. And so, hey, welcome back to the Homeology podcast. I'm JV.
And I'm Vince.
And we are just about to celebrate Labor Day, which is, do you know the history of Labor Day?
I do, a little bit.
A little bit, like the Pullman Car Company strike in 1894 and that kind of history?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, that's the important part, Vince. So you ought to know that.
Holy cow, I have no idea what you're talking about.
That's okay. I just looked that up before we came up here for the podcast, so that way I could make it sound like I was like knew all about it.
Yeah, sure.
But apparently that was kind of a culminating event around labor, the workforce, unfair, compensation and hard work and all that kind of stuff, and of course child labor, etc. But it was communicated that it was the first ever Labor Day parade. It was actually a strike.
Oh.
Yeah. But hey, so
how about that?
How about that? I mean, that's one of the earliest forms of media misinformation, right? Workers are striking. Call it a parade. That's what it was. But anyway, but Labor Day is just which is also kind of like the unofficial end of summertime. The kids are back to school. My kids are in school. Yours are heading back there. And, we were just talking a minute ago about plumbing, and I saw these stickers which I got for our team, which I'm going to put in the break room for them to pick up, and it says, I'm an HVAC technician because plumbers need heroes too.
That is fun.
Yeah, that is fun. And of course, there's just as many that say the opposite. I'm a plumber but in our case, it's because plumbers need heroes too. And so you were just saying that's actually one of the reasons that you got into, maybe started focusing on HVAC was because you weren't too stoked about plumbing.
Well, it probably didn't help. So back when Dad and I started, so that would be back in 1980, I would have been 11. So I was a gopher for the first while, probably 4 or 5 years strong. But, the thing is that we did a lot of work for Sears. And through Sears, they sold a lot of plumbing stuff on their floor, whether it was a dishwasher or, a water softener, water heater, a lot. And so we did them. And we were actually pretty good at it. Actually, I enjoyed doing them. The thing I didn't like about plumbing is, guess what? The water heater does not wait until it's convenient for you as the contractor to come and install it.
Right.
It wants it done right now.
Now is the time to do it.
And when you get there, guess what? It's probably a mess.
Oh, I guess.
And very humid, very hot. And there's just enough of those experiences that I was like, you know what? This part of it I'm not in love with.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, too, is let's face it, your challenges in plumbing are generally getting into the area. Maybe it's into the basement or whatever it is.
That's true.
But from the design standpoint, it's like turn it on, turn it off. I mean, plug it in, plug it out. It's pretty straightforward. I think my real shift happened sometime in my mid to late teens when I started doing loads, heating loads for houses.
Interesting.
Which, by the way, was done on a piece of paper and a calculator.
Right.
And I just found that very fascinating. Really, really enjoyed it. And then that's when we started getting into duct layouts. And I found that to be just really fascinating. And I enjoyed the fact that I had to design a system that was going to work from nothing. Yeah. And I think it was somewhere in there is where I made the shift to plumbing actually isn't, it just wasn't challenging enough for me, I think, in the moment. and then
that fits obviously with your working genius as an inventor, is someone that loves to solution something, and appreciates having to design, having to find a creative way. The cookie cutter, do this every day, is probably not going to be your happy place. That neither for me. Like maintenance mode, not my happy place. Right?
Yeah, and who knows? Maybe if I would have did plumbing design, as a designer, maybe I would have found that to be equally as fascinating. I just never had the opportunity. So, but from the standpoint of service and maintenance of plumbing, I just wasn't quite there. And Dad and I, back even in our early days, I found it very soon in our career that, it seemed like people would come to us with their problem jobs and ask for us to come up with solutions. And so I think it was just in an environment all my life. And now I'd say in the last decade, it's like actually I chase it now. It's like I want it to be challenging.
Right. Well, that's it. Here we are talking about your shift toward to focus on HVAC, but it's a great opportunity for us to actually communicate that plumbing, and specifically the water, water softeners and filtration and reverse osmosis. Those are all parts, water conditioning, that actually Vertex does do on a regular basis, including water heaters. And but I don't know if everybody knows that about Vertex, because it doesn't say HVAC and plumbing really anywhere,
or even water conditioning for that matter.
That's true.
We really just don't advertise it very much.
But the truth is that actually, we've said this before, our technicians are so cross-trained. And many of them are able to, and do on a regular basis, care for water heaters and water softeners. Tell us a little bit about why that kind of fits who we are.
Well, I think a lot of times, especially with water conditioning, a lot of times there's a problem that exists that we're trying to resolve. So whether you have acid in the water, or you have hard water, or you have, faucets that are constantly clogging up and things like that. So I think it's just that while we're there and working on this other stuff, oh, by the way, do you have a solution for this? And the answer is yes. I mean, we know what we need to do there. We know how to fix it. And here's your opportunity or your options to take care of that problem. So in that sense, it really kind of works for us. And to be quite honest, actually, I enjoy that part of it a lot, just because it's a solution opportunity to take something that's not so great into something that's much better.
Well, I just thought it'd be valuable for those of you who are listening to maybe know that when you give a call or you have a maintenance going on, you are welcome to actually ask any of the technicians about water conditioning, and they'll be glad to assist you in that. You can call in as well and talk to our CSR team, and they'll be able to care for, again, anything from, even if you're on city water, like we have solutions for that as well. But there's a lot more that Vertex can offer than maybe you knew. So check out our website. You can learn a lot more. And so, Vince, what are you doing for Labor Day? Do you have plans this year?
I do. Actually, we every year we usually end up down in Rehoboth.
Nice.
So that's where we're ending. We're going to be leaving this evening, actually, and trying to beat the traffic a little bit.
Yeah, awesome.
Can never beat the traffic on the way home. Everybody seems to leave at the same time.
Yeah, that's true.
But on the way down, we can at least maybe stay ahead of it.
Yeah, sweet. Well, I hope you enjoy your time at the beach.
Yeah, you too.
We hope that you enjoy your Labor Day with your family and friends. And I don't think there's any major railroad strikes going on this year to celebrate. But thanks for joining us on another edition of the Homeology podcast. We'll look forward to seeing you next week. We have our guest, Nate Foster, with us.
Thanks a lot.
See ya.
See ya.
Hey, thanks again for joining us today. As always, we hope you enjoyed your time with us and you'll return again next week. And if you need to get a hold of us, just visit vertex-mechanical.com to call or email.